So welcome everybody to Two Best Friends Talk Pokemon. This is episode 6. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jason, also known as the Red Viking. Over here is my other co-host.
And I'm Chad, also known as Dragonheart Rising.
And today we have a special guest, and I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Hey folks, my name's Jay. I'm from Cold Knights Gaming. We've been running a YouTube channel for quite a while. I mainly specialize in horror games, JRPGs, and I had been away from Pokemon for a while, but the recent game really got me excited about it and got me into quite a few little arguments, we'll say, on Twitter. So I became kind of like a defender of the game, so to speak. I get a little attention for that because I was absolutely in love with it, and I'm sure we'll get to that. But yeah, that's what we do. Gold Knights Gaming.
Nice, nice. And yeah, you said you're on YouTube. What do you normally cover over there?
I've always been a big collector. I actually started out as a reseller on eBay. I know not everyone loves resellers, but at some point when my main career really started growing, I stopped selling but didn't stop buying.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm usually a game hoarder now. So we have a lot of collections videos. I do reviews on like horror games, JRPGs, some kind of modern stuff, but a lot of times it's just the stuff that tickles my fancy. I'm not really on there to get thousands and millions of followers. I'm on there to talk about the stuff I love, and recently that's been Pokemon. So
Nice.
Very cool.
All right, so yeah, so both of us, or all of us, I should say, have gone through, we've played, we've beaten the new Gen 9 Pokemon, Scarlet and Violet. Now, Jay, which version did you have? Did you have Scarlet Violet or did you have both?
yeah, I went for the 2 pack the morning it came out. And I brought it home, and I tried to convince my wife to get real into it so we could have like an active, like trading partnership.
Yep.
Unfortunately, she played for like 2 hours and stopped. But
Oh
yeah,
man.
so I actually went with Violet initially.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I played through Violet as well. I couldn't get my wife into this one. She plays Sword and Shield, but she's more of a Pokemon Go player, so the fact that you had to really think about matchups and all that kind of stuff was something she wasn't really into. I hope for your wife though it wasn't because of the glitches in the game, right?
No, she's very much like me. It's about the enjoyment. Unfortunately, she is like a super fangirl for Final Fantasy 14, so it's hard
Oh,
to
yeah.
peel her away.
Yeah, I have dumped hundreds of hours into FF14. So I get that, yeah. Well, since we've all played through the game, I gotta ask you guys, Chad, you could be the first one to answer this. What was your favorite moment with your playthrough?
Well, my favorite moment, and this might sound kind of weird at first, but it was in the main story with the gym challenge at the very end of it when you battle against Nimona for the final time. That battle was actually one of my favorites because I actually lost the first time. And after I had lost, I was like, that was actually one of the best battles I've ever done against an AI. And it was literally just one move away. Like I was one move from taking out her final one, Meowscarada, and she just went first and took out my Hydreigon, and I was like, oh my word! Like that was actually closest match I've ever had in an AI battle. And so yeah, just doing that battle and then going back into it and realizing, oh, okay, re-strategizing, and then went into it and had no problem with it. But most of the time when I go through these games, like they're just too easy for the most part, and except for BDSP, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But but generally with Pokemon games, especially the mainline ones, they tend to get a little easy at the end. But I find that they've been doing a lot better with that with the most recent releases. Obviously, yeah, with BDSP and then with Legends Arceus and some of the final battles there. They've been a little more difficult, and with this one, it's not overly difficult, but you have to have at least a half decent strategy and a good team to actually do it. And so, yeah, that was definitely my favorite moment of it. There was obviously lots of good moments, but that one's the one that always sticks out as my favorite.
Nice, nice. Yeah, actually, that's
Mm-hmm.
a really good thing to touch on is you always hear about how the games are super easy. It's all you can do is just go ahead, press the attack button. It doesn't really matter entirely what move you use and you're gonna win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is nice that you had to train up a little bit and yeah, like you said, strategize a little bit. You had to think for once.
Exactly. Wait, are you saying I never think?
That's your words, not mine. How
Oh,
about you, Jay? What was your favorite moment?
So actually, like I'm going to be a little more specific on that final battle with Nimona. I was a little different. My play style, I'm a super grinder. Like I was one of those kids that got like 20, 30 people to 99 in the Suikoden games. So everyone was maxed out, perfect stats. Uh, she was no problem, but she's such a great rival compared
yes.
to so many of the others. And at the end, when you beat her, and she goes into that like dab motion where she's covering her face, like I got choked up because I wasn't sure if she was going to flip out or if she was going to cry, and it kind of like choked me up. And I thought it was like a really beautiful thing that after that, instead of being embarrassed or instead of being sad, she really wanted to continue this legitimately beautiful rivalry that she has with the main character. And I really thought that was special. And I really felt like you don't get that connection in a lot of the other games going all the way back. They're definitely not on that level.
Yeah.
So I could really definitely respect that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually thinking back to the previous generations of when the story mode actually gave you any kind of an emotional response. And other than the end of the Gen 6 games in X and Y, like at the very end of it had a beautiful moment, but a lot of them just didn't. They were just kind of like you go through them, they were enjoyable, but this one definitely took it up a notch. And yeah, I love that moment too, Jay. I was like, oh no, did I just make her cry?
Yeah, that's what I was terrified of. Like I really cared about how she was going to react. Whereas with like Hop, I wanted him to get like hit by a train. Like,
I was actually gonna bring him up on what you guys thought of him because yeah, I thought he was just whiny.
Very.
Just did not care about him.
locomotive.
Yes.
Yes.
Nice, nice. Yeah, my favorite one was actually during the Arvin storyline when his Pokemon, Mabosstiff, or however you pronounce it, when that dog or Pokemon finally barks for the first time. We were actually seeing that what we were doing, by taking out these time Pokemon, getting the herbs that were needed for the sandwiches and all the stuff that he was making, was actually making a difference in making his Pokemon healthy again. I thought that part was really cool. Because it was pretty fun because you get your ride Pokemon out there and it always steals your sandwich pretty much right away, and it's powering up your Pokemon, which is awesome. But then on the flip side, where his is finally getting healthy after going from not wanting to eat to nibbling, and then you see how it's becoming healthy again before you actually have to fight it, which he actually had a pretty good team, by the way.
I found that to be the most challenging battle in the game for me. That one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Arvin is definitely not bad. But yeah, that was my favorite part, and that leads me over to what was your guys? If you don't have a top five, if it's just like a couple of them, that's cool. But what would you say are your top five Gen 9 Pokemon that came out?
But me personally, I am literally obsessed over Kilowattrel. Uh, Literally moved into probably second all time for my Pokemon behind like Sylveon.
Oh,
And I'm super excited for the first TCG release that will have like a Kilowattrel like V card. Like I will have to buy like the huge pack that has like the jumbo card for it. He was
oh
by
yeah.
far
Maybe a
because I
reverse art if they got
specifically
that too.
my playthroughs that I've always done with Pokemon, I've always been a bird person. Like my initial team is always birds. And when I came across, like I had very few spoilers for the Pokemon in this. I was kind of going into it blind, and when I found Kilowattrel on that coastline after going over one of the mountains, I was like, this is awesome.
Mm.
Nice, nice. How about you,
Mhm.
Chad?
Yeah, I had a few that I was really liking. Having like Scarlet was my main playthrough, but I've played through both of them, and I absolutely adored Koraidon.
Oh yeah,
Because he totally reminded me of Toothless from the How to Train Your Dragon series.
yeah,
I was like, oh, tugging at the heartstrings right here.
yeah.
There was a few that I mean, I've told you about Palmot, where I was like, oh, finally a quote unquote Pikachu clone that will actually stay on my team for the whole thing, and actually was the one who took out Nimona the second time. I was like, okay, this is really cool. And then I honestly thought with the Charcadet evolutions that I was going to be all over Armor Rouge,
Mm,
and instead I absolutely love Cerulege. And one of the main reasons is that thing can take on 6-star raids that it's especially the ones that it's super effective against.
yeah.
And I was like very impressed with that. So that was that was pretty cool. And then the other two were Iron Hands and Fluttermane. And
Oh yeah,
Fluttermane for me tops the list just because it looks absolutely awesome. I'm quite a fan of Mischievous to begin with, and then to see what what looks like an evolved form of Mischievous, and then look like stats wise looks like an evolved form of Mismagius. It's like, huh, this is kind of cool.
yeah.
The Ghost Fairy typing and the variety of moves, and it's just such a powerful special attacker. And yeah, that one definitely topped the list for me on those ones. But yeah, all five of those that I mentioned, they're really cool.
Oh,
I
like
did have a
definitely.
few more. I know you would ask for five, so not necessarily that I used them a ton, but the character design on Wo-Chien was amazing. I loved actually seeing a legendary that didn't kind of look silly, like Dialga. Like he actually looks creepy. They actually look appropriate for like those Pokemon. If you really look at the story, are literally blights on the land and the people,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
look appropriate for it. It's really neat. And of course, I love Flamigo and Bombardier because I'm a bird dude. And
Yes.
Bellabol was just cute because he reminds me of me. Good old belly, very electric. So, but yeah, I was really surprised with the design of the legendaries because I honestly wasn't impressed, literally, with very many of them in the past.
Mm.
We had like cute ones and stuff. These ones actually are somewhat scary. They could be taken in kind of like the proper context of like when you read their descriptions, they're literally curses on the land, and one of them is like the spirits of everyone that died by the sword. Like it's kind of dark for a Pokemon game, which I love.
Yeah, absolutely. I love seeing the connections between all the legendaries and seeing, okay, is it like a really cool connection? And I'm like, they're all dark types. They're all blights on the land. This is actually kind of cool.
Yep.
So are we saying that Pokemon is not a kids game? Oh,
What we're
jokes.
what we're saying is it's gone to the dark side.
Apparently, yeah. But no, that is a good point though. Like the lore of Pokemon, when you read it, it's not all like happy, cheery. It's all over the place. It can be quite dark. Honestly, one of my favorite Pokemon though is Tinkaton because it reminded
Oh
me so much of Persea from Tales of Symphonia. You know,
yes.
this little chick, huge weapon, and hits super hard. And the Pokemon itself though is actually pretty solid. You know, statistically, it was one that I kept in my party for pretty much the entire game. It took me a while. It took me about 15 to 20 hours to decide who I wanted to stay in my team and who I kind of wanted to build around so I could take out all the gyms and, well, everything really. Yeah, I
Mhm.
love that one. And then Sprigatito, I just love the fact that it looks like a cat. It's very cute. And my wife, she works over at a at a pot shop, and I always joke that this is the weed cat because of the leaf that's on its face. So just made it really easy to choose when I thought, oh man, this is perfect. This is so funny. And I also liked Pame and its evolution line. I totally agree with you there, Chad, that for once we have a Pikachu style of Pokemon that's actually useful for the entire game if you really want it to.
Hmm.
And then I've already talked about that, but Scovillian. I just think that the design of it is so cool.
Yes.
And having that duality of, the grass fire type, I was like, you know what, this works. It's super obvious on what it is, and it just looks so angry. It's it reminded me of like a piranha plant, from
Oh
Mario.
yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, you know what, that works for me. That's pretty good. So at some point, definitely want to, train one of those and see what it's really all about, aside from just how it looks. But yeah, it's cool having a grass fire type.
Hmm.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't mind kind of bringing up some of the controversy and some of the.
Mm.
So I had initially got into the game and I was enjoying it, and I knew there was problems. Like I've been playing video games since I was just a little kid, just like everybody else.
Yeah.
Um, but so I'm literally like falling in love with the characters, and I'm posting pictures of like some of my favorite gym leaders, like Grusha and stuff, and I'm just having fun with the game. I'm not talking about performance. I'm not talking about Switch specs or anything like that. And I have people that are my friends and people that subscribe to me on YouTube and follow me on Twitter that were literally angry that I was enjoying the game and that I was covering it in a positive light. And to the point where like it became like a personal argument. Like I was like, dude, I'm literally just sharing my love of the characters, and you are ruining the fun I'm having. I didn't start a conversation to talk about the performance or the slowdown or the frame rates or graphical glitches or the game kicking you back to the menu. I'm not here to talk about that. And that's all they wanted to talk about. And it got to the point where I actually had two different people DM me and tell me that I shouldn't be covering the game at all.
Oh
That
man.
I was literally like a fanboy, and that I'm the reason that they continue to put out subpar games because I keep giving them my money. And I was like, this is to the point where I need to do something about it. So I actually had planned a review for it initially, but I kind of put like a slightly scathing, maybe like minute long introduction that I usually don't do before I cut to my gameplay and kind of like my reporter style coverage of the game. And I was like, listen, I do what I want, and I'm enjoying this game, and I'm not going to let you guys ruin my enjoyment. I'm not blind. I see that there's issues, but you are literally on this to the point where like you're kind of testing people's patience and friendships, and I didn't end up unfollowing any of them or anything like that because I think that we make networking connections here that are valuable even if we sometimes don't always get along or agree. But I actually saw two of my good friends unfollow and unsubscribe from each other's channels that they've been working on for years over this,
Really?
and I couldn't believe it. And
Oh.
my main thing was, if you want to be like a Review Tech USA guy and talk about specs and frame rates and the system specifications, okay, then make that kind of content for Twitter and YouTube. That's not me, right? I love great graphics as much as the next guy. Elden Ring was totally my game of the year, right?
Yep.
But I enjoyed this game, and it really tested my patience with some of these people because again, I didn't open these conversations to talk about that. I was professing my love for the characters and the events in the game because, like both of you said, they're surprisingly emotional, and I loved sharing all the screen caps that I took on the Switch when I would beat a Team Star member or a new gym, and I thought it was exciting. And to have someone down it every single time really sucked. And it's really the first time I've experienced something like that, even covering and playing games that were actually terrible in the past. And to see this kind of reaction, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, no, I've talked about this in the past, and I'm happy that you stood up for yourself and you didn't want to, drop down or stoop to their level with it. So props to you for not blocking them, unfollowing, all that kind of stuff, because usually that's what people do, and that doesn't fix anything. That just, in my opinion, makes it worse, because who knows, it might make like alt accounts and start really coming at you, right? So,
And I think that also feeds into the if they think you're a blind fanboy and you just turn them off,
Yeah.
that kind of plays into their opinion there. So yeah, I'll listen to you, but you're wrong.
Yeah, totally.
there definitely were some issues with the game. When people found out that some shiny Pokemon could be sort of hidden behind walls and stuff like that. That's unfortunate, but overall, like all the glitches and everything, that didn't detract from your enjoyment of the game, correct?
Absolutely not. And I played it fully handheld. I don't play docked. I
Okay,
have a
yeah.
PS5. Why would I? Like the Switch is my sit on the couch game.
Mm.
I'm blind as hell. I can't see the TV. So if I'm on the couch, I'm using my Switch.
Right.
So that's what I like to play. I never played on. I know a lot of people had more issues when it was docked because of like resolution problems, I guess maybe. But I got kicked to the menu maybe 3 times in 100 hours, and when I compare that to any Bethesda release or BioWare release, that's probably less than I get with them.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I love Bethesda. I love Elder Scrolls, Fallout. Yeah, on my playthrough, I just had it twice where it crashed on me. Honestly, I thought that was okay because it's a game. It's new. They always patch them. I mean, a year or two from now, it might run a lot better. I'm not 100% sure with this one because at times I feel like the frame rate is because of the limitations of the console, but at the same time, I don't care. I go in, I know that the Switch is only so powerful. This is a completely open world game. It's not really expected, but it's not surprising that there's a little bit of slowdown on the frame rate, but honestly, who cares? The fact though that some of your, the people that are coming at you and saying you can't enjoy the game, you can't say anything good about it, is just
Yeah.
ridiculous.
The other thing I got a little bit of heat for was I said exactly what you just said. My first impressions were I love this game, but I definitely see some issues with the frame rate, especially the first time like I went into the school and saw the stop motion children's legs under the desk.
Oh yeah.
And I said that it exposed the limitations of the Switch, and I got flamed real hard by real Nintendo fanboys for that one. They were like, it's poorly optimized, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, you're right. I didn't want to argue because I don't care. I was like, yeah, you guys are right. Cool, thanks.
No, that's crazy. So you get it from both sides. You can't love the game, you can't hate the game, you just oh, it's
What
ridiculous.
got me the most is that the people that I had the hardest time with don't even own the game and didn't play it.
Wow.
I look at a lot like when people complain about politics but they didn't vote, shut up.
Yeah.
So if you don't have this game, you can't tell me how bad it is because you watched RGT85 play it on YouTube, who's only showing you the worst clips. And like you have to understand that there's going to be a bias and a mission with every story that's presented to you. So if someone's mad at Nintendo and the Pokemon Company, then they are going to present the worst the game has to offer.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a good point. And it's all clickbaiting, When you post like, "Oh my goodness, this is wrong with the game. This is terrible," you're gonna get clicks for it. And I found because I posted a couple things trying to tell people that the game is not that bad. It's still definitely something you can enjoy here. And it felt like I got no exposure for that, for saying something nice about the game. And
Mm-hmm.
on the flip side, maybe if I just went along with that whole storyline of this game is broken, look at these crazy glitches, blah blah blah. I assume that I probably would have gotten a lot more exposure for it, but just like
Yeah,
with
they
you,
don't
I
get
I
their
yeah.
pitchforks and torches out and line up behind you.
Mm.
Chad, in your circles, how are people feeling about Scarlet and Violet?
Well, most of the people that I'm interacting with are more so on the Facebook groups, and there's really not a whole lot that they post on there. I think mostly because the group moderators wouldn't really tolerate it.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and the ones that would allow it, you're going to have a whole lot of people within there that aren't going to tolerate it. Definitely not a perfect system, but yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people just like, hey, just need help with this, just need help with that. You know, they're not ranting and raving about, oh, this is wrong with the game or this is wrong with the game. And like I said, the ones that do, you're going to have a whole bunch of comments that are just shutting them up. Like, seriously,
Yeah.
enough's enough. Like, enjoy the game, don't enjoy the game, that's up to you. But if you don't enjoy it, don't play it. And if you do enjoy it, love every moment of it.
Yeah. But yeah, the fact that some people are just gonna whine about it even if they don't own the game, I think is ridiculous.
Oh, totally ridiculous.
That's the worst, because all they're gonna see is like, oh, this game sucks because this person says it sucks.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, someone told me once that broccoli pizza was a great idea, and I still don't think so.
But pineapple does go on pizza, so
Absolutely.
can't believe everything that the internet says, right?
Yeah, that's what Abraham Lincoln said, I think.
I have a
Jay, I'm
question
gonna
for
throw
you.
this question over to you. What do you think for the next year or two? What do you think the support is going to be like for Scarlet and Violet? Are they going to be releasing DLC? And if you think so, what do you think they would release?
I think they definitely will, and it'll probably kind of follow a format like Sword and Shield did. Um, I'm not like I'll get the DLC for sure because I really enjoyed the game. But what I'm more interested in, and I'm actually kind of let down. I really was hoping that we would get more things like that Charizard event. And I know that we're supposed to get another whack at it, at the end of the month. But for one, having it in like two parts, I don't find to be very interesting because like I made sure I got it at first and had like 100 eggs to give to my friends like right away. But I was hoping that we'd get to see more special events with Pokemon from the past that are not in the game, because there's so many people whining about no national decks and all that. Well, you could add a whole bunch of Pokemons to events like that, and maybe even I was hoping that we'd see some like PvP events. Like I'm not a huge like Wi-Fi battler, but it would be something fun to kind of add another ripple to it, where you could specifically only get these Pokemon if you win so many matches, or you win some kind of tournament that they set up. Like, I think that would be really fun. But yeah, I mean, the DLC will probably have some cool legendaries or something. Maybe revisit some legendaries from the past. Not sure, but I definitely would like to see more event support because I did enjoy that little event. But I'm not happy that it's repeating, and I'm not happy that we haven't heard anything more about it because I think a lot of us get used to like the games as a service, that like Fortnite or something offers, where you constantly know what's coming up and there's something to be excited about all the time. And I'd kind of like to see that with it, but we'll see what happens.
All right, yeah. That's a good point though about the games as a service thing. So, if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying if there's kind of like a roadmap of knowing what to expect in the next few months.
Yeah, that absolutely, because like the other game that I play constantly is MLB The Show. Every year I put mad money into it and play it crazy, and they have literally like a whole Twitter account just designated to telling you what's coming up in the next couple of weeks, what's coming up in the next month with like exact dates, and this event starts and that event starts. And that's not a free to play game. I mean, that's a $60 release, and it's still a games as a service thing throughout the year. I would love to see something like that here.
Oh, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. Okay. What about you, Chad? What do you think?
Well, I'm definitely with you on DLC. I have no doubt that's going to be coming up. Just saw a list the other day about all the Pokemon that aren't on the Switch games yet.
Okay.
Like the ones that we can't get access to yet. And there's really not that many. So I'm anticipating with DLC, we're going to get the rest of them, if not sooner. for the past few generations, they've done these different events where, or not really events, but with Sword and Shield, it was DLC. With Gen 7, it was Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. They make a way that you can get all the past legendaries and you can shiny hunt them too. So that will, I have no doubt that'll be coming up. Probably not for another year, year and a half at least, but
Okay.
I have no doubt that'll be coming up. Yeah, you're definitely right, Jay, though, that with events, there's usually not too much notice. Like this morning, I saw on Twitter that there was one more code that was released for, more sandwich ingredients, and this was the 7th one, and it was like, I think 6 hours before it closed that they finally released it, and I was like, that's a little short notice.
6 hours.
But
That's not even like
Yeah,
a
I didn't even know
shift.
about that.
right, I started playing around 6:30 in the morning, and I think it closed at 7, and I'm like, barely caught that one.
Wow.
But yeah, with the bigger events, most of the time we don't hear about them at all until maybe a week before. Maybe. Yeah, it's and you kind of hope to see it in the Nintendo and the Switch opening screen, that like in the news there, that you'll see them. But that's definitely something that would be nice to see, to get a little more notice in some of these events.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because, I mean, you could go like, some people could go weeks or months with not even opening their Switch. They're not
Hmm.
checking that kind of news, but they'll be on Twitter every morning or evening, whenever, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
And
yeah.
yeah, when it comes to like player versus player and competitive and that kind of stuff, that'll definitely be heating up soon because they've opened it. It's available now, but like just for ranked battles. But yeah, the tournaments will be starting up, I would imagine, within the next few months.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was January that they started doing something, but yeah, like the events where if you compete with them and then you get prizes, I'm not sure when they're gonna start that one, but it should be relatively soon.
Well, didn't you say a couple weeks ago that it's in February, January, February, that Pokemon will have like this big event going on where they're gonna go over a lot of stuff that they're gonna be doing over the following year?
Well, Pokemon Day is February 27th,
Oh,
and
right.
more
Yeah.
often than not, that's when they'll talk about stuff. I don't know how much will be on Scarlet and Violet. I think it might be a little too soon to announce the DLC at that point, but it's possible. I don't know for sure, but definitely by the following year we'll be getting something.
Yeah. Yeah,
Now, have
definitely
either of
something.
you guys heard anything about any planned functionality for the Pokemon Home yet with the game?
That should be in either February or March, I believe. I think it's February
Yeah.
that I heard they're doing that, and then yeah, they'll finally link up with home.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely, because then we'll be able to transfer stuff if we've played Legends Arceus and get those different forms. The Hisuian forms, you'd actually be able to transfer them over because all of those Hisuian forms, their regular Pokemon, are in this game. So I know a lot of people are looking forward to that.
I still need to finish that game.
I need to finish completing it.
Yeah.
Like I've done the main story and everything, and then it's like, okay, now I've got the Azure Flute. Now I just need to complete the Pokedex to go get Arceus.
Yeah. Yeah,
No small
exactly.
task.
Jay, did you play Arceus at all?
Completely skipped it.
Oh, completely skipped it. Was it just not interesting to you, or?
So I have like I don't know, like I had kind of been away from Pokemon until this recent release. Um, I had played Sword and Shield a little bit when it came out, when we were still having some issues. And literally after completing this and getting about as far as I could get in the decks until I could get someone to trade me like the last 20 I needed, I just got into Sword and Shield. I just probably started it again last week.
Oh, okay.
and put 20 hours into it already. So I'm already knee deep in that. I imagine I will go back and look at Arceus. I don't know about like the Let's Go ones, but
Yeah.
Arceus is pretty good.
Yeah, Arceus, it's cool because it's so incredibly different.
Hmm.
And the fact that completing that Pokédex, you have to catch a Pokemon, but in either so many times or in different ways. It's always like there's a almost like a little side quest for each one of those Pokemon.
Hmm.
I don't know. I figure if you want something that's just nice and chill because there's not really much fighting, it's more about exploring the areas. I think you would enjoy it. But yeah, you definitely have to be in that mood of okay, I'm not out here to do about 500 trainer battles. There might be 5 trainer battles actually.
Oh, 15.
50. Okay, there you go. There you go. For the entire game.
Pretty much. Until the DLC part came out and we got a lot more of
Oh,
the more
yeah.
difficult battles.
But yeah, so February, Pokemon Home. You can finally import all the Pokemon over. That'll be exciting times.
Hmm.
Do either of you guys collect Pokemon cards at all?
Oh man, I haven't started collecting them. Oh, I did it like way, way, way back when, in like the late
Hmm.
90s. I've been watching a lot of people opening packs. That's been as far as I've gone so far. It's cool. I like watching people open packs. It's just very expensive as a hobby, so
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
always been crazy into it because back when I used to resell, we sold Magic cards and Pokemon cards. So, it was always like a hobby of mine, that and baseball cards, but it never really went away. And when I'll go through like my little cycles here where I'm super into Pokemon, I probably spent probably $100 this week on the cards.
Oh,
Just
wow.
I don't play. There's no one to play with, but I love especially like the full art cards, more of like a display piece. And it's really a treat to find like a nice like full art or shiny of like one of your favorites.
Mm,
Oh yeah, for sure.
definitely.
What's your most expensive card that you got?
Out of this recent stuff, probably nothing. But back when I was actually like selling on eBay, I had had a couple like Japanese ones I had got. I had had nothing like from the first set. I didn't have like $1,000 Charizard or anything like that, but
Oh, okay.
there was quite a few cards that were like 100 plus. But when I got out of it, I literally sold like my personal collection. So I really don't have any of that left. Probably the greatest one I pulled out of like a personal pack was way back in the day, and it was what they would do is like it would say there was like 105 cards in the set, and if you get a card, it would say like 72 out of 105. Well,
Right.
there was always 2 or 3 that were numbered past that. So it would be like 108 out of 105. And one of them I pulled was like a full foil Charizard. And out of the pack, he was like $100, like right away. And so I literally sold that like right away so I could buy more. Yeah, that was probably the best I ever like pulled out of the pack.
Nice.
Nice. No, that's really cool. Chad, do you still got your cards or did you get rid of those?
Oh man, that was a long time ago. Yeah, like when I was, oh, how old was I? Like 12, 13 years old. Yeah, then I was collecting a bunch of cards, and some of my friends and I at high school, we would go into the art room at lunchtime, and a whole bunch of us would just be playing there, and it was really fun. And then yeah, I got rid of them shortly after that. And funny story though, my cousin, he was like, yeah, my kids are really into Pokemon too. And so I headed over there. We kind of had like this Pokemon day where, we're playing Sword and Shield, and they were collecting a whole bunch of cards, and one of them, he's like, hey, want to do a battle? And I'm like, whew, it's been a while, but okay. I barely beat him, but I beat him. The old guy
Hey.
still got it.
Yeah, I want to say that way, way, way back then, like what you're talking about, like 12, 13 years old. I think I may have played against you. That's about it.
Mm.
It's actually really fun because a few people that I watch that open packs and they do it on like Twitch or TikTok or whatever, or even on YouTube. I know that they've been asked in the past, "Hey, do you also play them?" And almost every single guy that I watch open packs, they're like, "No, no, I just open them and I think they look really cool." I thought, hey, you know what? It works though. But some of these
Exactly.
guys, they really do make a living off of doing that. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Jay, though, I gotta say, it was definitely nice having you on here. I think you actually fit in really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm glad that you guys seem like great guys. It's nice to actually talk about this stuff with people who really love it. Like I said, I got into quite a few arguments about it, and a lot of people are kind of like fair weather fans, and you guys seem like you're like legit. It's been a part of your life, and it's something you really enjoy. So it's always real nice to talk about this kind of stuff with people that are like-minded.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Before we go here, could you tell me a little bit about your gaming background?
Oh yeah, so I'm old. I'm actually I just turned 39.
Okay.
So I started back, like my sister had like an old ColecoVision,
Oh,
the controllers that look like phones.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
And I went up through the Nintendo and Super Nintendo, but I was really when I really got into it, I was a PlayStation kid. PS1, PS2 were my jams. That's when I really got into survival horror and things like that, and all the classic JRPGs. And I got away from gaming for quite a while, and I came back to it right at the tail end of the PS3. Like I always had the newest tech, like I had to have everything. So I had it, but I wasn't really playing anything.
Oh, okay.
It was actually the Tomb Raider reboot that brought me back, and
Oh,
then I just been gaming crazy ever since then. But also, I'm a huge sports fan too, so the yearly like baseball game keeps me tied up, and then in between that, playing that obsessively, I try to get as many JRPGs or I really like survival horror games, not so much into like the walking simulator stuff. But and then I was like, you know what? I really love this. I love playing this stuff. I love talking about it with like my wife and my kid and my friends. And I watch YouTube all the time. I'm gonna try to make a channel, and I've been doing that for about 6 months, 7 months maybe. And
okay.
it starts out slow, but I just hit like 110 subscribers, so I'm still pretty small. But I like
Hey.
doing it, and I like interacting with the people that follow me because they are very much into the things that I do. So I'm really enjoying it. I think it's a great way to meet people, and I love that there's so much intersectionality with like Twitter. Like I don't
Mhm.
really use Instagram or TikTok, but Twitter is such a great place to meet people and get them interested in your content. I was actually terrified this afternoon when I saw that Elon Musk thing where he was saying that it would no longer be like free advertising for your other platforms. And
Yeah.
I'm like hurriedly reading through the list. I'm like Mastodon, Instagram. Oh, good. YouTube's not there. He doesn't want to fight with Google yet. But
Thank goodness.
I was terrified because like one of my favorite things is to make like silly memes on like meme generator about how like no one's subscribing to me, and I can't imagine if I couldn't link my YouTube channel and tell little jokes. Like it would really like darken the doorstep of Twitter for me because I just love interacting with people and begging and trying to get them to go watch my YouTube content.
Yeah, it's that very fine balancing act of how much can you push your content, like, what you're talking about with your YouTube channel. How much can you push that without overstepping, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I got up to like over 1,000 followers on Twitter. I never thought I would do that, and it was just through networking. Like it wasn't like a follow for follow thing. I would follow people and interact with their stuff, and building relationships with people, even if it's just little comments. On my Twitter, I focused mainly on the actual horror, like a little bit on games and recently on Pokemon, but I'll do a lot of memes for like horror movies and reviews and discussions about horror movies. And I have this awesome cross section of people that I interact with. Some of them are like horror maniacs that were obsessed over like Terrifier 2, and some of them are like, Pokemaniacs And it's so cool to have such a diverse group of people to interact with. So
Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely. Now talk about survival horror for 1 second here. I gotta ask you, did you play Callisto Protocol?
I did not, but
Oh,
I
okay.
will. The reviews were not good, but
Yeah.
I will try. The thing is, I wasn't a huge fan of Dead Space,
Oh, okay.
so I'm not really sure how I'll feel about it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we'll see.
I would say
I'll
if
probably
you,
pick it up. I'm not one of those people that like waits for a sale. I just have too much stuff that I'm playing now,
yeah,
but I'll get to it. My current survival horror I'm playing is Signalis on the Switch, and I'm loving it.
yeah, I've heard of that. Heard of it. What was that one about again?
It's basically like a Dead Space thing, like space travel. You go to like a mining colony, and there are colonies that are run with like half humans and half like synths,
Okay.
and some kind of like virus infects the synths, and they start like killing the humans, and it's pretty brutal, and the game is hard as hell.
Mhm.
But
Oh,
lovely like PS1 retro graphics. But you're running out of ammunition like right away, and it's very dark. Pretty cool like character designs. But I love like seeing those like classic notes like you'd pick up in Resident Evil or Silent Hill. Like reading through like work orders that like technicians
oh,
put in,
yeah,
and reading through someone's diary, and really good game. I was difficult to the point where like it kind of turns you off a little bit. I'm going to try to push through it. And then a good friend just bought me Madison for my birthday, and I started on that. And that is the puzzles are pretty intense in that.
yeah,
Um, but I was actually, the thing about that, the game is so dark as far as like the way it's presented. You literally can't play it if there's any light around you at all. Like the glare is awful. Like you need to play it on your TV, which I hate doing. So, but yeah. Have you guys played Callisto? Was it what are your impressions?
So with Callisto, I got it on Steam, and I tried it. Actually, let me dial it back a little bit here. So I got it off of Steam. I'm planning on streaming it later on that day. I fire it up, and even in the menu, it was chugging. Like it was stutter. So I thought, okay, well, you know what, I'll just change some settings, mess around with it. And it didn't fix that at all. So I decided to look it up, and a lot of people were complaining that the PC port of it was poorly optimized. So I thought, okay, you know what, cancel that. I'm not gonna play Callisto right now. I'm gonna play whatever else I thought of, right? Come back to it a few days later, and I see that they pushed an update. I thought, okay, great. Download the update, and it's running even worse.
Oh no.
So I went over to Steam and I was like, hey, I want a refund. I got the refund, and later on I'll probably, stop in and play it. But I do want to mention Madison. That was one of the games that I streamed on Twitch, and it is awesome. It is absolutely awesome. The puzzles were a little bit tough, a couple of them. There's one, I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm just going to say I'll call it the picture or the portrait puzzle. That one was super annoying for me. I had a really hard time figuring that one out. Aside from that, it's an interesting storyline. It's definitely interesting. I posted a review of it on my YouTube. Because overall, I would say for horror games that released this year, it's a top three for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, really
Nice.
good game. The achievements on Steam are kind of fun. They push you to try to speed run it later on to get all the achievements if you want to do that. But yeah, Madison itself, I didn't even know it actually came out physically. I thought it was just a digital game, so that's pretty cool. I would hold on to that copy for a while because it'll probably be worth a pretty penny later on.